Tom Keifer, the last living soul of American glam metal, has a raspy voice that says defy. He may not be as well known around the world as Bon Jovi or Axl Rose, but to die-hard rock fans of the 1980s, he was the voice of a style of music that was fiery without being loud or crazy, and deeply spiritual. Tom grew up in the smoky nightclubs of New Jersey, where he was born in Pennsylvania and became one of the last fighters to write the last battle hymns of glam metal. As a kid, he was obsessed with guitars and struggling with addiction. Tom Keifer didn't have to scream to be heard because his voice was so rough it sounded like it was made of stone. He needed to sing. Individuals believe this to be a real soul. You won't know what you have until somebody takes it away. No one is stupid. Gypsy wrote. It wasn't just hits. Some people had their hearts broken by those songs. But after the show, there was a long period of haunting quiet, 6 surgeries on his vocal cords, doctors telling him he'd never sing again, and he almost disappeared as the world chased grunge. Not any secrets or drama. No excuses from the tabloids. It was quiet for Keifer to live, heal, and come back. Can someone who lost their best and most valuable gift, their voice, find themselves on stage again? And in a time when everyone is willing to give up something, can an artist who won't give up their personality for fame make it? What happened to Tom Keifer isn't just about rock. It's an act of quiet strength and steadfast belief. That of a man who never gave up on following the voice that was speaking to him from the heart. So let's take a look at that journey in this video called Early Life. He was born on January 26, 1961, in Springfield, Pennsylvania, a quiet town close to Philadelphia. Tom didn't grow up with instruments or stages like many rock singers do who grew up in musical families. It was formed by inner strife and not knowing what to do. When he was 8, he wasn't crazy about the Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin. It was Doug Henning, the magician. Keifer worked hard for years to become a magician, which was his dream. Before the Monkees came on TV, music was just a side interest for him. That's when he felt the strange power of the guitar for the first time. Keifer felt a strong pull toward music as he got older. In the suburbs of Philadelphia, though, life wasn't great for a dreamer. As part of a school work-study program, Tom performed 5 nights a week at bars in Philadelphia and New Jersey while still going to high school. He actually slept during the day, played music at night, and went to a lot of parties and used drugs. He later admitted that his mother made him a special deal because she was afraid he would quit school. She was going to buy him a Gibson Les Paul guitar if he finished. It wasn't just a present, it saved her life. After agreeing, Tom still has that guitar. During his worst times, Keifer felt like he was falling. He gave up on local bands, moved back in with his parents, and started his fight against addiction when he lost hope. During his time walking racehorses and working at a photo lab for minimum wage, he started making music again, but not for money or an audience. He did it to find himself again. Soon after, something happened by chance in the bathroom of a club that changed everything. Tom asked Eric Brittingham to join a new band, even though he didn't have a bass. They called themselves Cinderella in 1983. No one would have thought that this soft-sounding name would become one of the biggest hard rock bands of the 1980s. In her early years, Cinderella wasn't from Los Angeles. They didn't look like they belonged in Hollywood, and they weren't backed by big names in the business. However, Tom Keifer knew what he wanted from the start: to come up with their own music. Not to copy, not to follow trends, and most importantly, not to lose who he is. The band started upstairs in a small club in Summerdale, NJ. Every night after work, they practiced. Keifer worked from 5 a.m. till 5 p.m., then started writing songs right away and worked on every riff and tune until they were just right. Cinderella worked on writing only for almost a year. There will be no shows, hype, or rushing. Quite different from the quick rise to fame that many glam metal bands were going for at the time. Unfortunately, there was a problem when they started playing in neighborhood clubs. A lot of record companies were hesitant to sign Tom Keifer because his voice was raspy, rough, and different. Kiss didn't get anywhere even after talking with Gene Simmons a few times. Simmons wanted to be in charge of writing the songs, but Keifer wouldn't give up his artistic rights. A famous name, John Bon Jovi, had a lot of success. John heard Cinderella at a show in Philadelphia and was immediately won over. A manager at Polygram named Derek Schulman was told by him to check out the band. This didn't impress Schulman at first. It seemed to him that Cinderella needed a better guitarist and a stronger drummer. Keifer didn't talk back. He already didn't get along musically with the original group. Cinderella made changes to their team by adding Jeff LaBar and Jody Cortez, and signed a 3-month, $30,000 development deal, which was a big step toward getting a full record deal. But the problems didn't end there. Their first record, Night Songs, came out in 1986. The label changed the cover art, which made the band's real sound different. The first song, Shake Me, didn't do very well. Again, people didn't think much of Keifer until Nobody's Fool came out on MTV. A somber song with Keifer's voice cracking with raw emotion and a melody drenched in pain. It all came together to make something that spoke to young Americans. Night Songs shot up the Billboard charts and sold more than 3 million copies, making it one of the most popular first records of the decade. There was silence for the first time from those who had brushed off Tom Keifer's words. A successful career. As soon as Night Songs, 1986 became a huge hit, no one could doubt Cinderella. After opening for David Lee Roth, they went on the huge Slippery When Wet tour with Bon Jovi. Guitar riffs and fireworks filled the arenas. Yet, Tom Keifer never used fame as a chance to brag. He could stand still and sing with a sound that was unlike any other. It was like getting his soul ripped out, and words that were not meant to be forgotten quickly. The songs he wrote weren't rock star worthy. It sounds like he wrote them after losing everything. Finally, in 1988, Long Cold Winter came out. It was a statement of growth and closeness that was unlike any other glam metal record of the time. It was no longer just loud music and mascara. Many people thought of Keifer's music as just party music until he added blues, piano, acoustic sounds, and real emotional wounds to it. He sang about the feelings he had when he left Pennsylvania to go on tour, feelings that only lonely people could understand. You don't know what you've got until it's gone. That's where Cinderella's saddest song came from. Keifer started writing it on the way to the studio, but it took him almost 3 years to finish. The band's biggest hit, the song got to number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. That being said, Keifer didn't like it. No one else dared to say what they were going to say. The record had hits like Coming Home and Gypsy Road. But what was more important was that it showed Cinderella wasn't just a band following the latest trend. The person's soul was Tom Keifer. The band was asked to play at the Moscow Music Peace Festival with Mötley Crüe, Ozzy Osbourne, Scorpions, and Bon Jovi in 1989, which was a big deal around the world. And even so, Keifer was never really a rock star. Not crazy quotes, waving booze bottles, or destroying hotel rooms. He broke the idea that glam metal couldn't have meaning more than anything else. Still, Cinderella would feel out of place in the years to come because of her strong faith. The 1990 album Heartbreak Station was a risky project. Production costs a lot. Recording took place in several cities. Over 40 bands were involved, and the launch party cost a whopping $250,000. It sold 1 million copies, which is a big number for many bands, but a red flag in a market that is changing. The number of grunge bands was growing. Names like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, and Soundgarden, which are angry and dark, cast long shadows over guys with long hair who were singing about love and longing. Even though Cinderella were sincere and modest, they were thrown in with the now outdated glam metal wave. After that, a blow much worse than the changing market happened. He had never lost his voice, but Tom Keifer's voice faded away. A life filled with sadness. For the first time in 1991, Tom Keifer felt like something was wrong with his throat while he was still on tour. At first, there was only a slight hoarseness. Then there was shortness of breath, and sometimes there was silence. A singer got the worst news she could handle at a medical checkup. There was nothing moving in his left voice cord. The doctors said his singing would change forever. Those words are death sentences for any singer. It fell apart for someone like Keifer, who loved to sing and write songs like Breathing. He would have at least 6 surgeries on his vocal cords over the next 10 years. He would also have to relearn how to speak and train his voice again note by note, like a child learning to talk for the first time. At the same time, Cinderella went quiet and then lost its balance in a market that was giving up on everything it had stood for. Keifer had a hard time getting better in 1994, which was supposed to be their comeback year, but was pushed back. Although time doesn't wait for anyone. Headbangers Ball had already been canceled by MTV, and Keifer remembered that even when Guns N' Roses released a new video, they weren't going to show it. As survivors of a dead age, we were automatically turned down. There were no ads, music videos, or radio plays for Still Climbing. Tens of thousands of people only saw them on tour. In Seattle, which is the home of grunge, a radio station wouldn't even sell ads for their show because they said glam metal wasn't important anymore. It was pain after pain. Sony soon stopped putting out music from the band. Their long-awaited comeback album was put on hold forever because of changes within the band's label. With no record, stage, or voice, Cinderella went into a long court case. And it was during this time that Keifer moved quietly to Nashville, out of the spotlight, and wrote songs like an artist fleeing persecution. His refusal to return to the public eye meant that he wasn't ready to sing again as someone who was trying to make a comeback, but as someone who had never really left in spirit. Tragically, the disaster didn't end with his vocal cords. In 2008, just when Keifer seemed to be fully better, he had another vocal bleed and almost lost his voice again. It was suggested that he stop working, but that word had never been used by Keifer. He didn't live for shouts of praise. His only goal in life was to be on stage and make music. Cinderella broke up for good in 2017. The reason? The members' relationships were too broken to fix. Longtime guitarist for the band Jeff LaBar said, "I think most of it was my fault. My drinking issue hurt me in ways that could not be fixed." LaBar retired in 2021 and passed away. He was 58 years old. Keifer did not hold a big memorial service or go on TV. Through tears, he just said that Jeff was a passionate guy with a beautiful soul. "We never thought we'd lose this much." Tom Keifer may have been quiet at that time, but he made everyone else quiet too. Life outside of music. Glam metal musicians are often linked to parties, affairs, and scandals, but Tom Keifer is one of the few who isn't. He wasn't the type of man who was involved in tabloid loves or expensive weddings. Keifer's personal life has always been quiet, faithful, and firm, just like his music. In the middle of the 1990s, when Cinderella was becoming less well-known and Keifer was almost completely out of the news, he met Nashville-based singer-songwriter Savannah Snow. As Keifer healed from surgeries on his vocal cords, Savannah became more than just a singing partner. He called her his partner, and she helped him put his broken life back together. They got married and moved to Nashville, where they raised a small family, wrote music together, and produced records. Jaden, their boy, was born in 2004. Keifer had been alone and unsure for years, but becoming a father gave him a new reason to get back on his feet. Keifer's life may seem too normal for a rock star because there aren't any reality shows, paparazzi beach pictures, or divorce scandals. However, the fact that it is common is what makes it unique. He decided to live an honest life, and when the cameras were off, he never betrayed the people who were with him. While he was in Nashville, Keifer also started working on his solo project, the Keifer Band. Savannah helped him write songs and manage his art. They didn't want to make a big comeback. They just wanted to keep telling old stories in the most honest way possible. This might not sound like the most interesting part of a rock star's life story to some, but if you've ever heard Tom Keifer sing and felt the cracks in his voice, you'll get it. The inner strength can be seen in this silence. He can tell he's on the right track without others around. He only needs a house, a guitar, and someone who still puts her hand on her heart when he sings. In the history of music, Tom Keifer has never won a Grammy. Cinderella isn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and at the time, reviewers didn't think much of him as a legend. But rock fans who really know what rock is made of have always seen Tom Keifer as one of those artists who didn't need fame to become famous. Keifer created a unique style in glam metal, which is a mix of hard-driving rock, classic blues, and raw emotional depth that comes from real pain. Folks weren't supposed to scream to his songs. It was his intention that they would stop talking. Not every ballad was a hit, like Nobody's Fool and Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone. They became songs for people who had lost someone, loved someone, and then let go, or fell and got back up. Cinderella and Keifer were once seen as minor figures in the glam metal wave, but now, decades later, they have been re-evaluated as unique artists who brought real artistry to a style that is often associated with big hair and glitter. Newer acts like Hailstorm, Chris Daughtry, Lizzie Hale, and even Slash have said that Keifer's voice and songwriting have influenced them a lot. Keifer was more than just a poet. He was a great example of how to be an honest artist. Glam bands broke up, followed trends, or went out of business altogether in the 1990s. Keifer, on the other hand, took a more reflective path, healing in solitude, retraining his voice, and eventually returning to music, not for the sake of the market, but because he loved it so much. Besides that, he left behind some important mechanical work. His raspy voice, bluesy phrasing, and signature vocal bends made every line an emotional slice that many artists have tried to copy and learn from. His discography isn't very big, but Night Songs and Long Cold Winter are still the best songs to listen to if you want to know that glam metal wasn't just about dyed hair and nail polish. The person telling the story didn't have to yell to get you to pay attention on these records. To teach a generation that rock isn't just about sound, but also about truth, that may be Tom Keifer's biggest legacy. Present day, now that he's in his 60s, many of his glam metal friends have either retired and become famous, but Tom Keifer is still touring and performing, not to relive the past, but to show that the fire never went out. When Cinderella officially broke up in 2017, Keifer put all of his heart and soul into his solo project, the Keifer Band. He and his wife, Savannah Snow, are the creative core, the emotional center, and a partner in every detail. The Way Life Goes, 2013, was their first record. It took them almost 10 years to finish. The important thing wasn't how long it took, but that Keifer made it even though he had to learn how to sing all over again. That wasn't the end of him. Rise, 2019, added to his musical range. It was more mature, less flashy, and not at all affected by what the business expected. For Keifer, singing is now his only way of life. It's not necessary that it's popular or on the charts. It only needs to be true to what he still thinks in his heart. The Keifer Band resumed touring the US in 2020 and 2025, playing small clubs and open-air stages where fans know every word. The world of Keifer is now here. He doesn't need a microphone to sing loudly anymore, because his voice is powered by the love of those who stayed with him even during his longest stretches of silence. That same stage will still have a thin, long-haired man playing a Gibson Les Paul more than 40 years later. His voice will leave a mark on time, to remember us that telling the truth is always appropriate, not to hurt. You don't have to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to know Tom Keifer. There's no need for incidents to make him stand out. He has only had a guitar, his voice, and a promise to himself with him throughout his journey. Despite the way people treat him, he will keep singing in his own way. Through the lost years of youth, the heights of fame, the depths of silence, and then the quiet return, Keifer has never yelled for attention. But it's the quiet that has made him stand out more than most. Tom Keifer tells us that art isn't meant to please, it's meant to be true, in a time when streams and algorithms can do the work of artists. If you've heard, "Don't know what you got till it's gone on a lonely night," or "Nobody's fool right after your heart broke," then you already know someone named Tom Keifer. Not through ranks or awards, but through the raw crack he makes in the souls of those who hear him. Just be himself and sing like today could be the last time. He doesn't have to be a hero. Have you ever understood a Tom Keifer ballad? Do you think that artists who are quiet, honest, and never give up should be honored more? Put your thoughts on this amazing trip in the box below. Please like, follow, and turn on notifications if you believe in the power of a real voice. This will help you keep finding stories that may not make the news, but will live on in the hearts of those who listen. Thank you for seeing this. Looking forward to the next show.